I've been carb loading, can't you tell? It's important that you carry a little bit of extra weight into things like this, you know.
All right, so get everyone. We should be live on Facebook. Well, I've always got to double check because things can say they're live, but then we're not. So we're still in the experimentation stage of making sure we're online. So let me just confirm first.
I'm feeling live.
You're feeling live? So that could just a few notifications happening there.
Wow, is everyone tuning in, are they?
We'll say that it's everyone tuning in, but it could just be that I haven't opened up Facebook. And let's check. Oh, I can see us. We're on the bike. Okay, sweet.
Hi, everyone.
All right, now you're not supposed to introduce yourself. I'm supposed to introduce you.
Okay, I'll concentrate.
Okay, so g'day everyone. Welcome to the NoXcuses show. Today, I'm joined with my good friend, Josh Catalano in Fuller Fitness in Subiaco. The reason I'm catching up with Josh Catalano today is because he is taking on, for the fourth time?
Third time.
Third time, all right, talking to you. For the third time, the HBF Fitness Challenge, which he is choosing to cycle continuously for 24 hours straight on a stationary bike like this. Now, the first time that I saw Josh do this, he chose to do it on a wind trainer, and I tend to joke around a bit and call Josh lazy and a little bit weak.
It's true. Everyone sees Brant as a really nice guy, but sometimes, you know.
Yeah, the inner circle. But I have never seen someone in so much pain and still committed to make that 24-hour mark. It was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen. I was hugely inspired and impressed. Not inspired enough to actually cycle for 24 hours with you, but we're joined with you. And I guess to start off today, we're on bikes, so we're making ourselves look active at the same time, and this is similar to the setup that you'll have. Yep. I guess to start off with, I want to know, why are you doing this? Why?
Sometimes I ask myself the same question. I think that, you know, I grew up as a telethon boy, you know, like I remember as a young kid watching telethon, you know, even ringing up trying to speak to my favourite stars, and I used to always set my challenges on trying to stay awake for 24 hours, and anyone that knows me knows that I'm usually the last one to finish anything, whether it be you know, staying awake, and I'd always be the last one up, and I've always had that probably can't sit still attitude, but you know, my young fella was born at 24 weeks, so he spent a long time in hospital, but yeah, I've always loved telethon. I've always loved everything that you know, the West Australian community stand for when they come in and participate and do things to raise money. And then seeing Matt Fuller a few years ago doing his 24-hour challenges, I'd always had this little bug to scratch or have a go at something like that. And then, you know, when Lenny was born, I thought it was probably the perfect opportunity to have a go. I was probably the fittest I've ever been in my life, so I thought, I was heavily cycling at the time and doing lots of things like that, so I said to Maddie,
You just finished a half Ironman or something at that stage, hadn't you?
Half Ironman. I did I rode from Esperance to Perth in 5 days as well, raising money for Alzheimer's. So this sort of ultra endurance or testing myself was probably a little bit of a bug that I wanted to scratch or have a go at things like that.
So, I mean, I've got one question that came out of that. Who was the celebrities you were trying to talk to when you were calling back up as a kid?
Probably some hot chick that was on Home and Away or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even remember back in those days.
Now, also about your son. So, how long was he actually in hospital where you weren't physically allowed to touch him?
Well, it was a couple of weeks before. I was nearly a couple of months before I actually got to hold him.
Yep.
I gave all the contact time to my wife.
Yep.
I thought the mother's touch was probably more important than a guy who's been deep frying fish and chips all day. But yeah, no, it was a very tough time, and like I said before, I was probably the fittest I've ever been. But that challenge or doing that was probably more of a mental fatigueness, you know, between starting a new business and also spending a lot of time in hospital.
Yeah, and I mean, I spoke to you personally. I know that it was like going there in the mornings to drop off breast milk and then working all day and then coming back late at night to do the same. I can't even imagine what that would be like. And I remember getting the phone call from you when you told me that you and your wife had just had your second baby, and I was like, what do you mean? We're only halfway through this process.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Oh, you know, and even on that, my wife's pregnant again at the moment. It seems.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But she's 22 weeks, so it's actually next week where she would be giving birth. And like even now, you look at her and you go, yeah, you're pregnant, but you're not. You're miles away from ready to have a baby. So, yeah, it was pretty tough. But
and sorry if this is a little personal, but like, how are things going in terms of mentally, knowing that your last child was born premature, and now you're closing in on that 24-week bracket again?
It's like
how things are travelling.
It's funny. You go, as long as we hit 24, we'll be fine.
Yeah, anything over that.
And like you bump into people that say, oh yeah, we had a preemie baby, 6 weeks pregnant. Like, that's not premature, you know. Like, but it's fun. Like, yeah, well, you know, she's part of a program now with King Eddie's that's a high risk patient, and they've pretty much classified her as low risk now.
Oh wow.
Baby's
Awesome.
really healthy. She's really healthy. She's looking after herself. She's really excited about the pregnancy. Didn't really start like that when we first found out she was pregnant. Like it was really, really tough as parents, you know, like, you know, you always should be really excited about that moment in your life, certainly when you've already got kids as well. It's always scary with the first one, but you're already having 2 in the bag, and then, you know, trying to go for the third, or, well, we weren't really trying, but Lauren was really, really scared.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
Completely natural, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so there was a pretty tough period there as well where, you know, she was really scared and worried, and we didn't tell a lot of people. Previously, we pretty much told everyone straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, we'll just see how it all pans out.
I'm pretty sure she announced it, what it was around the 20-week mark. Is that when she was starting to feel more confident about the whole process, and now she's excited?
Yeah, well, the natural thing is, you know, the mother or the person having the baby will always tell her mother or her sister. So there was gravitation to the women in our family knowing.
Yep.
On both sides, and I was like, well, are we going to tell, you know, my father and her father? And like, she was like, no, I'm still not ready. And I was like, okay.
So the parents of you and your wife, Lauren, like the fathers weren't able to know.
It's just the women, you know, they take control sometimes. And so I said, I'm telling your dad. And she goes, no, it was Father's Day. So I went around and told both fathers. I said, congratulations, Grandfather's Day again. You did it again? So no, everyone's excited, and you know, touch wood, everything goes well, and we have another little healthy baby. Hopefully we get a girl this time. But I was driving the car the other day. I had both kids in either side of the seat, and I looked back and I was like, there's gonna be another boy in there, I know.
Well, I mean, I know that I personally love following you on Instagram. So your 2 boys are
that makes one person. That's it.
Your 2 boys are absolutely gorgeous. And I know my wife is exactly the same. They're beautiful, and I'm sure the third one's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, hopefully.
And so you briefly mentioned how fit you were going into the first time. Let's talk about fitness this time. So in the last 12 months since you did the last 24-hour challenge, what type of training have you done in the lead up to this event?
I've been heavily carb loading. I've been trying to put some weight on to manage the big ride, but no, anyone sort of that knows me knows that I've got a very busy lifestyle, and you know, 2 young kids, pregnant wife, building a house, building a business, and a hospitality business is pretty tough, you know, where I do get the mornings off for the kids, but they wake up around 5, 6 o'clock, but you know, pretty late night. So it's always hard. And you think back to that time, you know, when you're doing training for triathlon or anything, it's a pretty selfish sport. It's something that you got to wake up early, do the hours, and everything else pretty much gets sacrificed. And you have to make these decisions in your life where you either want to build a successful business, want to build a successful relationship, or have a healthy, happy family, and you just got to try and juggle those balls. So training hasn't been the biggest amount, but when you take on something for 24 hours, it's not your muscles, it's not the training, it's the mental side of things and how you manage your body. And you know, going into the third one, I think I've got that side of it wrapped up, and the mental strength to keep going and support all the sick kids of Perth.
Yeah, and so obviously the mental strength side of it plays a massive factor. And I guess for me, what I saw the first time you did it, and I got to see the last time you did it as well, like the first one particularly because Josh was set up on his actual bike, but on a wind trainer which had resistance. and was trying to push out a certain amount of watts. What was there a watt or a kilometre goal?
A lot of it's a blur to me these days, but it was funny because I was really fit, and so you try to break records, and challenges like this aren't about breaking records. It's about just finishing and being part of it. And sometimes when it does get really tough, you look across and you see Matty Fuller, who's done it 10 times, maybe even more. He's like, and you ever feel like you're going to give up, and you look across at Matty, and he's just always got this glare in his eye, this steel that even if there was a brick wall there he'd ride through it, and so you feel like you're going to battle with these people. Sol was another one that's he's going into his 4th. Maddie last year, first female to do it.
Yep.
We've got another guy this year who's the first person with a disability to try and achieve it. So
okay, awesome.
The team's growing. There's like-minded people, and Gary's another guy. He's got his own story. Who, he's out there trying to raise money as well.
And we had one of our favourite people take part last year, which was Emily Pryor on her.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that bike was iconic with that setup.
Little M, he's so many times. She always comes at the right time. I remember the first year, I was not in a good place. It was, I was ready to give up.
Yep.
And M comes across and just puts her hand on my back and just goes, "You can do this." And it just gives you another 3 or 4 hours before you start feeling that pain again. And it's an emotional roller coaster. Without the people, the support, the sponsors, people coming down and wishing you, like if you and I just sat here right now, no one around us, and had a crack at it, it'd be one of the hardest things. I don't think you could do it.
Well, I don't know. I think we're like maybe 15 minutes in. My ass is killing me. I am sweating. I'm sweating. I was supposed to put on some dark cycling kits.
You should have carb loaded.
I should have followed your training program leading into the event. I mean, I'm already well and truly uncomfortable. We got some comments saying that we need to lift up the cadence because
This is a marathon. This is not a sprint.
Yeah, this is a marathon. Even though we're probably going to be on here for 20 minutes max. But yeah, so look, I guess you obviously spoke about it shortly, which was the Emily Pryor motivating factor. But I mean, when I saw you, like you were literally on death's door, like you had no idea where you were, what you were doing. There were moments where you were incredibly emotional. What was it that kept you going until the 24? What kind of skills or motivating factor was it that kept you on the bike for the 24 hours?
You always, like that time there, and I remember certain points. I remember Adrian Barrett coming down and wanting to interview me, and I was in no way going to talk. I couldn't talk.
Yep.
I was too emotional, and it was. You go to some pretty dark places, and it's usually when you don't see a familiar face. And my wife had just left to go to the hospital to check on Lenny. I'd been through the death period, I call it, because it's like, as soon as midnight ticks over and, the people sort of start to filter away, and your support crew is starting to get tired, and these guys do the hard hours too,
Yep.
They're always there to help. And so it had been through that, and it was around 5 a.m. and like I was ready to stop, and I thought. And my father came down and he said to me, he goes, "You don't need to do this," like he'd always seen this picture of like, when a marathon runner's like running towards the finish line and they're out of it. They're in another world, and they fall over, they collapse, and they do some damage to themselves. And he could see that, and because he was looking at me and not seeing me look back at him. And so I don't know, you always just think just another 5 minutes, and it's just another 5 minutes. And then when you get to that 5 minute mark, just another 5 minutes.
So breaking it down was a massive helping factor?
You got to put yourself in, because you want to make a difference. You want to help someone. You want to do something.
And everything hurts.
Everything hurts. But you know that when you stop, it will heal.
Yep.
No matter what damage you do to your body, it'll heal. And you'll feel good, and then you'll remember back. And, last year was a classic example. You just managed my time and my efforts so much differently.
Yep.
I didn't prepare myself the first one. I didn't think that it was going to be as tough as it is.
You thought it was going to be a walk in the park?
Oh, ride in the park. But the only thing I put on my bum last year between the seat was a towel.
Yep.
And after 5 minutes, it's like a rock.
Yeah.
So this year you manage things. You get up out of the saddle. You know how to move. Like you're not there to break records. You're there to manage your body, because it is really, really tough.
And probably a good point to bring up, like you're obviously doing this again for a reason. Now, what is the purpose? I know that you guys are trying to raise money for telethon. What's the goal, and who is it that's getting behind you to support you?
I think that you know, when you sort of do things in your own life, and a lot of them are all personal things, it's about giving back to the community.
Yep.
You know, people like Matt Fuller and myself, we look at things probably a lot different than most people do. You know, we've got certain talents, and other talents are miles away from us. So we can push our bodies and our minds to the absolute limit, where most people probably would look at it and say they can't. So, you know, we take that challenge and we embrace it, and we try to raise money for sick kids. And, you know, luckily enough, all of our kids are happy and healthy at the moment. And so that's all we pray for. And so many parents, and I've been in the system where you go to hospital and you see sick kids, and it's 10 times tougher than what we're doing.
Yep.
You know, like that unknown. You know, I remember sitting there looking at Lenny in the incubator and just thinking, what problems is this kid going to have his whole life?
Yep.
You know, and like you turn around and you see another group of family and you say, we've got it better than them.
Yep.
You know, and like there's a million stories like that, and that's why you do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we do it. It's not, there's no other reason.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and you know, like being born at 24 weeks, there is huge amounts of risk, and surely due to technology and staff is the reason that you're blessed at this moment.
And luck. There's a lot of luck. I mean, we lost, you know, when you're sitting in a pod of 4 babies that are all born similar ages, and there's people sitting opposite us that they don't get to take their child home.
Yep.
You know, we did, and we were a very small case. You know, we were very lucky. Babies at 24 weeks generally don't survive. And so he's an absolute miracle. The system's an absolute miracle. And yeah, we got lucky. There's so many parents out there that don't get lucky.
Yep, I understand. Now, if you're tuning in on Facebook, you will notice that I've included a link to Josh Catalano's sponsorship page. So by all means, if you would like to donate to Telethon through their cause, follow that link. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're both going to be, well...
I'm just going to keep riding for another day or two.
He's going to be at Telethon for 24 hours cycling. I'm going to be there on Sunday morning.
Talking.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to start off with on the panel, but then I'm going to come and join you guys for an hour on the bike, and then also hang out and see you in the Hurt Locker.
I urge everyone to come down as well. And like I said, you know, seeing the faces and people coming down and thanking us, and, you know, even putting a $5 note in or a $2 coin in the donation tin makes a world of difference to us, and it keeps us going. Because, like I said, if we were in this room here, no one watching, I don't think you'd be able to do it.
I'm ready to jump off the bike now. No, but also I think that if you are willing, talking about that death hour that is after midnight, anyone that likes to be up in the early hours of the morning, if you can get down and support through that time, it's obviously going to make a big difference, because that's the most challenging time of the night. But otherwise, anytime you can get down. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing your story. Also, thank you very much to Matt Fuller for letting us use this location to sweat profusely on their but it's just because, you know, the gear, the wrong leg.
Yeah, I heard you having a crack at Kona.
Yeah, is this true? So that is definitely the goal, Kona 2020. So I'm going to do, because I've missed out on Tokyo Paralympics, I'm going to do the hardest race in the world.
So how do you prepare? Are you scared? Are you worried? Like, I mean,
mine's 2 years away.
Yeah, I know, but it's still, it's that mental side of things that you go, I'm going to go and achieve something, and now it's everything between now and then to make it happen.
Look, for me, the biggest thing was that missing out on Tokyo, which was completely out of my control, was devastating. So I'm just really, really excited to have another opportunity that is, for most, impossible to be able to take that on.
Yeah, your body's not really built to, you know, it's not meant to be going to that extreme.
So yeah, obviously I've done the distance before, but the big factor for me will be the heat, and having a prosthetic leg in heat is very, very scary, because it's a foreign object rubbing on your body, and when you sweat, there's all room for things to go wrong, and things go wrong in the best cases in that race. So, mind you, watching the guys just kill it the other weekend has been very motivating.
You know what ends up happening? That actually really starts to excite you, that period.
Yeah.
You know, that ultimate test, and like. And last year when I was doing the ride, because I had it the year before, I was searching for it. You know, where it gets a bit, you know, you start to hallucinate, you start to lose track of things, and like I love it, that part that is so tough that, you know, that it pushes you.
Yep.
You know, and like it's somewhat weirdly addictive, and hopefully you experience it hundreds of times on that race.
I will definitely experience. I remember last time, and last time was only 25 degrees, so that's pretty cool for Busso. I had so many walls, and it is going to be the same. And I remember going through stages of getting like goosebumps because you were so excited to be in the moment. And Busso's obviously so small compared to Kona. I mean, Kona's the world champs, the whole island changes, and so that's really exciting. But based on my fitness here today on this wind trainer and the fact that I'm going to have to change...
You got 2 years to prepare.
I got 2 years, but I better start. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining in. And yeah, we appreciate your questions, and come down and support Telethon and these guys in doing the HBF Fitness Challenge for 24 hours non-stop on bikes.
Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, guys.
I'll race you.
I got to hold this.
Oh, yeah. Any excuse.